on and setting up a data business related to pharmaceuticals in Dublin. And I started off as commercial director. So as part of that role, I was in Lisbon quite a bit, a lot. And I fell in love with the place immediately, pretty much once I got out off the train or and out into the open air. So I was traveling there a lot, and ended up getting married there as well in 2016. And as part of that, I was wondering how I could help my friends and family get around Lisbon, and sort of do sites and attractions and all that sort of stuff, so they wouldn't miss out, because I knew I wouldn't have time to sort of hold everybody's hand. So I started a little blog called and website called The Little Book of Lisbon. And I just kept on adding my experience of Lisbon, place I'd been, restaurants that I liked. I didn't put anything up that I didn't like. I only put up the good stuff. And that just sort of built a bit of traction. I said, I'll just keep this going. I'll keep on adding to it, just for a hobby, really. And then one day on a trip out to Lisbon on an Aer Lingus flight, I bumped into Liam King. And I got talking to Liam and got friendly with Liam, and met him for coffee in Lisbon and meals in Lisbon and Dublin since. And Liam told me about the IBPN, and that's how I ended up joining this network. And I'm delighted I have done that, and I'm part of it. So just continuing on that theme, I suppose, during the summer then, back in July, Arnold shared a link that was related to Tourism Solutions Now. And this was a program that was set up by the Lisbon Tourist Board and Nest, so the Centre of Innovation for Tourism, and Startup Lisboa. And Arnold just shared the link and said, listen, hey guys, you probably saw it. If any of you are interested in partaking in this competition, here's the entry form. I thought, this is going to be hard. And I was really surprised how easy it was and how simple a process it was. I spent an hour or so going through the forms. I sent them details of the website. They were looking for ideas and why you wanted to join it. So, and I really didn't have any expectations of what was going to happen. I just said, do you know what, I'll give this a go. And I had a bit of time to take off what I was doing anyway. So I thought this was the ideal opportunity. And, when opportunities come along, I always sort of say, let's take them and go for them. So basically we entered this competition, or I entered this competition not knowing really what was going to happen. And to be, I'm not going to use the word confronted, but presented with well over 100 people in a chat room like this on Slack, and told that, hey, this was on a Monday, and they said by Wednesday lunchtime, we want you all to have teams of 3 people or more to work on your projects. You're going, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So everybody's scrambling around, really interesting, all strangers, trying to build teams, trying to join teams. Some people already had companies up and running, and they were just in to try and get some leverage for themselves. So it was a fascinating couple of days organizing a team. And eventually I myself, a guy called Nuno, who lives in the Azores, and Peter, who's an English guy living just outside of Lisbon, we had similar ideas anyway. And we said, listen, why don't we throw them together and try and come up with something else? And that's where TripMaker came out of. And we were lucky enough, so we started on a Wednesday and finished on the following Wednesday. So we had a bit of work over the weekend as well, to be honest. And on the final day, there was 18 pitches presented to the head of the tourism board, the head of Nest, the head of Startup Lisboa, and 2 investors as well, or entrepreneurs, that were going to judge all 18 presentations. And that would have been a combination of approximately 100 people behind those presentations. So it was a competition for sure. And a lot of nerves, actually, for sure, when you're waiting to see who the winners would be. And of course, we'd been in conference and talking with these people all along. Some of the great aspects of it was the speakers. They'd really high level speakers, giving us information, sharing their thoughts. We had mentors as well. So For example, our group of three, we've the head of Revolut Bank in Lisbon, the head of Airbnb, the head of a mapping company. And they all came along, and we told them what we were trying to do and what we were trying to achieve, and they give us their own advice and say, listen, I think you should go a different direction. And they were helping us with our pitch for the final day on the Wednesday. Um, and we were a winner of that. There was 5 winners out of the 18, so we were delighted to be picked as 5. There was one overall winner, a company called Cyango, who were already a business. I think three of the final 5 that were picked were already businesses. One of them was a boat hire company that was already up and running in 5 countries. So it really was a stiff opposition we were up against. Um, so that's really how we got there, and how the journey sort of began for us. That's the 2 guys. It was all online. It was all in this forum. It was quite strange, as you could imagine, talking to people you don't know. But we've built up a strong relationship since, and we've been working in the background. So this was run at the end of July, and in Lisbon, people seem to take the whole of August off. So August was a slack period, and the onboarding actually with Startup Lisboa is today, and it's actually at 4 o'clock today. So the guys are being onboarded at the moment, and I'll join them after this. So that's what it's come to now. Part of the winning of this competition as well is it's great. You get access to all the mentors that they have. So they might have 30 or 40 mentors with Startup Lisboa. They have their times up, and you can see who you want to talk to, and you can pick the mentors that you think will best suit your program and your development and everything else. And at the end, so we have 3 months of incubation now starting today with Startup Lisboa. And at the end of it, we'll hope to have a minimum viable product out of it, and be able to pitch to some investors as well. So that's sort of our goal. But I have a short video I can present to you, show you just briefly, and it's done by Startup Lisboa, Tourism Solutions now, and Startup Lisboa, and it just gives you an idea and a feel for what the event was. And and I'd strongly recommend people, if they are interested in getting involved in these things, to just take that little jump and do it. So I'll play the video if I can. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. Can you hear that?
So many ideas from Portugal and from outside of Portugal. We always say that Portugal is the perfect laboratory to experience new ideas, but most important, to test your products.
What comes after is really doing even better, and that's what innovation is made for. It's actually now to help to revitalize the economy and help us be more competitive than ever.
Innovation is actually the tool that we got to address challenges that we have as an industry, independently of what we are living in this moment.
Thank you all of you for applying to this initiative.
If we do find the solution in this group, I will be rich. You need to get the feedback a lot from your own customers and ask them what they think.
When we have an idea, we should go as fast as possible to the market.
I would say just do it.
Just do it, but never alone.
If you fail, that's fine. You learn, and then after you readjust. What we thought was correct is actually not the reality.
That was awesome and really important stuff.
Technology is the key to empower every person.
We would have figured that out sitting in the building.
innovation and tourism, they go hand by hand. What we want to have is an innovation community, a strong innovation community here in Portugal, working with us. Work hard and play hard as well.
Yes, of course. What do you think about stretch a little bit?
The go-to-market strategy is the place where we should have the concrete actions that we'll do in each specific channel. Do whatever it takes to win your first client.
It's time for you to go now working on your pitch presentation.
Nervous, it's not necessary.
Hi guys, how are you?
What has been the plus of this process of tourism solutions now?
How much money do you need to start this?
So what would make tourists prefer yours and make yours as the destination?
I was very impressed because just 1 week and it's amazing.
I must say that the group selected, it's a bunch of very high quality and different things. And the winner of this edition is Ciango.
Thank you so much, the judges. Thank you so much to everyone.
Again and again, thank you all for being part of this great initiative. For us, that was really a pleasure.
Yeah, so as you can see, there's a lot of there's a lot of people involved in that, including the Minister for Tourism, who gave up her time as well, and we were able to have an interactive session with her, which probably lasted around an hour. So that was really really impressive. So and it does show you the importance of tourism to Portugal. You know, I've written a couple of blogs on it, and I realized the amount of money that's been lost at the moment in tourism. And part of what we're trying to do then with TripMake is try to help and be part of that recovery. I'll just briefly go through the elevator pitch that we did as well, if you will. Just for this is the pitch that we used to be a winner of the competition. So basically, you know, TripMake is going to be a super friendly travel organizer that's going to pull everything together that you want and really try and enhance your holiday experience. You know, we found out and we realized that people don't have time, you know, to organize. Time is precious. There's way too much information out there sometimes, and it can be very confusing, and it's very hard to book activities online and pull them all together and have all your tickets in one place as well. So that's part of what we're looking to do as well. So you know, there's lots of things, you know, when you go to big cities and you come home and you go, people say, oh, have you been there? And you've been there, or you've gone over to this monument? You go, no, I missed all of that. So it's going to prompt you as well. So as you go through the app, you know, you'll be told, you know, listen, don't miss out on this. This is something that you really should go to. Sorry, just missed that screen. This is something that you should go to and think of doing. So it's building a smart schedule, and you build it yourself. So it'll be a web app, so it'll be an app and work online. And basically, you'll have these are just screen grabs that we pulled together for the presentation. So you'll be able to look at the city or the location of the town that you want to go to, and then look at the sites and attractions or landmarks or cultural museums, family event, you know, activities, whether you're going to the aquarium or you want to book a leisure activity, play golf or do a surf school or restaurants. We'll have it all there, and that will you know, prompt you the best things to do in the area. It will map it out for you as well, so you're going to see exactly where you're going to go, and we're going to put a timer on it as well to say, you know, it's going to take you approximately an hour and a half to do the monastery of Belém, etc., etc. But the great thing is as well, you'll be able to book all your tickets online as well with it, so you'll have your whole sort of holiday booked and paid for and organized before you go. We did some, and some of you may have helped on this survey actually. So as part of it, one of the mentors said to us, you're going to need market validation when you do this pitch. Well, okay, right. So we did a quick survey, and I sent it to Arnold at lunchtime one day, and he shared it, thankfully. And we had 50 replies within an hour. I think I got 200 overall after that, but we had to pull this validation together quickly. And we found that, just in a quick survey, that 76% of people would download an app to map and plan their holidays. 60% of people said locating attractions is a pain point for them. So they're going to places and they're not finding them, or they're missing them, or they're not doing things. And 84% of people said they expected to book and pay for attractions online, which is really good news for us. And then when we did some research, and I was looking through different sources of data, I came along trip.com, and they were saying that the average spend in Portugal per day on entertainment and tickets for a tourist is €13, which I went, wow, that's low. So something like this has certainly got the potential of upselling. And obviously, when you've got fewer tourists in Portugal and fewer tourists in the Algarve, you really need to start upselling what you have. And hopefully, that figure will be multiplied from €13 upwards. So that's the idea behind that. Sorry, it's just tripping out a bit. And then our roadmap. At the moment, we're still developing the product. In behind the scenes, we've done a little bit of work on that before the startup, which is today. We hope to release a minimal viable product, or MVP, very soon, and test and improve it. The mentors had said to us that, that this is an important part of it, just to get something simple up. You don't need the whole product to be ready and to go when you go out first to market. Generate revenue quickly was important as well. And I think one of the clips that was in the video as well, and one of the things I took from it was, do everything you can to win your first customer. Came from, it was the CEO of High Jiffy. And I thought that was a really poignant thing, and that's stuck in my mind as well. So that's going to be a focus of ours too, and obviously improve and scale up. And then just to, we are passionate. It's great that the three of us found each other because we were passionate about what we were doing and wanted to solve problems that face Portugal at the moment. So my two other colleagues now are Peter Allen. He is the CEO of a company called Compelling Ideas. If you go onto his website, it's really interesting. He's done the creative outdoor work for recruitment in the army in the UK, actually. And he is a creative designer, and he's also a coder. And then we've got Nuno, who lives in the Azores. Nuno's Portuguese. He's a business called Two Guests, which he launched the week of lockdown. So that was really a hard thing for him. And the great thing about Nuno is he's a coder, but he's also a UX, or user experience designer, and he designs and builds apps. So we've got a really strong team. My background, sales and marketing, sales as well, our tourism as well, obviously, with my little book. So that's basically it, guys, from my side. I'll stop sharing now and go back to you. I hope you found it interesting. It's a lot of information packed into what was sort of 6 days, but I genuinely like to thank the IPBN for sharing these links, and I was really impressed with Startup, with Tourism Solutions, with Nest, and the effort they put behind. And if you look at that video again, you can see the quality of speakers that they brought along to the table, and and the heads of all their businesses were involved. So is that okay?
Great. John, just before you go, I think it's really, really, really interesting, and I really wish you and the guys very well with it. It's an exciting few months for you. I don't know how you're going to do it and hold a full-time job down while you're at it from Dublin. But very quickly, is there anything the IPBN members could do to help you guys? Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. It's really looking for, from what I can see with Startup is, they're not going to hold your hand the whole way. It's your business, and it'll be up to you to find out how to build it. But they'll give you the tools, and they'll help you. They'll help you along if you ask questions.
and they'll give you the support and all the networks that they have. And really what it is it's about networking. It's about these communities actually. And when you're starting a business, that's really important, that you can maybe drop someone a line or drop someone a note to say, hey, I see you guys are doing this. Is there any way we can work together, or you can help us out? Part of what we're looking at doing is, white labeling the product as well. So like if you had a hotel or a hotel chain that you might want to white label it, and then give that to your customers and say, hey, here's a lovely little travel guide for, Porto or the Algarve or whatever, to show you what's going on. So there could well be, I could well be knocking on some people's doors or Zooming people's doors as you do now. Yeah.
So there could be guinea pigs out there in the network for you, in other words, yeah?
It would be great. And again, like if people want to tap into my knowledge or ask me anything about my experiences with startup and everything else, wow, absolutely. Yeah, totally up for that.
Great. Do you have time for one or two questions from the audience?
I do, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Does anybody have questions for John?
No, was that good?
Yeah, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
What's the monetization, John? How you do the monetization? What's the business case for you? What is the monetization? Do you have a percentage of using the application, or?
Yeah, we haven't decided on that yet, but yeah, our revenue will be from ticket sales. That's how we hope to generate it. And probably a small charge for companies that want to put their businesses up there and maybe upload videos, etc., onto it. But that would be a nominal amount. But would it be important as well? An important way to generate revenue as well, sort of quickly to help us fund the project.
But one question, sorry, related with my question. If you said that you could brand that to hotel, a group of hotels, so the application could be brand white label.
Yeah.
There is a price on that, or?
No, we weren't expecting to have a charge on that, because at the end of the day, it would be a win-win situation where the hotel or the group would be able to provide a great tool to their customers, and from our perspective, we'd have people using the app and booking tickets, so that would work for us as well. So that would be something that we'd be looking to do for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, John.
Great question, John. Jerry Dawson here, based in Dublin.
Done
a lot of work in Portugal. What's your route to market? Who's your partner? Because there's lots of apps being developed, but to get it into the hands of the people who will download it. I'm doing something similar with a sports game because I'm a sports tourism specialist.
Okay, great. Well, maybe we could chat as well offline. I'm locked down in Dublin as well, Jerry. So
yeah,
So the route to market is one, we have in-house developers, which is great, and we're also going to try and look to see if there's any sort of way we can work with the Novo College in Lisbon as well to get some students to help us on some of the development.
Sorry, I meant more about how do you get it into the people's hands, like Tourism Lisbon? Are they giving that free to people if you were to download it through a piggyback partner?
Yeah, we're hoping to leverage those connections that we have now through this competition, because it was their competition. It was the tourism board that have pulled all this together. So yeah, we would be hoping to leverage their networks, and we would also hope that we'd be able to maybe brand it and get the support and use the logos of Tourism de Portugal.
Well, you're in a good space, and we should have a chat offline, because there are lots of tourism partners that actually are used to paying commission in the business. So if you become a traffic generator, but it is about getting people to download it on their app. That's the critical part, as I see for you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, and thanks. That's good advice, and absolutely, Jerry. I'd love to talk to you as well in the next couple of days. I really would.
Arnold, I'm not familiar with Lisbon as much as I should be. Is there equivalent of a transport for London, like a transport for Lisbon? Is there a centralized, because that could be a great distribution partner?
Yeah, they sell. Yeah, you certainly can get your tickets, and they advertise them quite a lot, don't they? Oh, I forget the name of them off the top of the head. You guys might know, Aoife. There's a card, the Lisboa card. You buy the Lisboa card, and that's great actually. I think it's 38 euros for 4 or 5 days, but you also get it free into lots of attractions with it, and you get big discounts off some of the attractions. So if you are going to Lisbon,
exactly my point. They're obviously an obvious partner for you to link up with, I would have thought.
yeah, that's great thinking. Yeah, thanks for that.
There is just a question on the chat. Apart from Startup Lisboa, did you seek support anywhere else in Portugal, John?
No, and the reason was this really just started with Startup Lisboa and this incubation, and it really is it was a very different situation. Yeah, a situation that I never thought I'd be in a sense, where I pitched my little book of Lisbon, Peter pitched something else, and he had a different idea about tourism, and then Nuno was pitching his business to Guess, which is like a white label for small B&Bs, mainly based in rural communities. So the three of us together, Peter, Nuno, and I, we never knew each other at all. So we'd nowhere to pitch to. There was no idea. There was no trip maker. It was really the three of us coming together and trying to combine our own skills to come up with something different. And that was the beauty of this program, that, total strangers, and we still haven't met. Nuno's in the Azores. He's probably as far away from Lisbon as I am, sitting in Dublin, so we haven't met. I was meant to be there this week, but lockdown in Dublin sort of took that option away from me, and we were meant to meet, so that was put on hold. So no, we haven't gone anywhere else. It doesn't mean that we can't go anywhere else. And I think the main thing in Startup Lisboa and from Tourism Solutions now, they just want companies and products and people to work, and they just want to make sure that that they've put something in place that will promote innovation, that will promote business, and I think they'd be happy if we got funding from anywhere once it works, and once it brings back tourists or helps tourists, and once it helps generate revenue as well. Obviously that's a key factor to the economy.
Great. Well, I'm going to leave it there, John, because we've got a few other people obviously to see, and I know that you have to dash off, but I would encourage anybody who wants to reach out to John and talk to him more to do so. Arnold will have his contact details if John's aren't available on the presentation, which I don't think they were. So
yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No worries, John. Listen, thanks a million and best of luck with it.
Thanks a million, guys. Yeah, it is weird. Like we're starting incubation now, so that's the call I'm going on now. So it'd be great. I'll let you know how that goes.
Hey, thanks, John.
Thanks a million, guys. Have a great meeting.
Bye-bye.
Talk soon. Bye.
Thank you, John. So now we have Bruno Felicio. He's the CEO of Solutions Ozone. I know he's there. Yes.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, Bruno will tell us about how you can prevent disease and fight the COVID-19 spread with ozone. So very interested to hear from Bruno. Here we go, Bruno.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Bruno Felicio, and I'm the CEO of Solution Ozone. So in Solution Ozone, basically, we have 18 years of experience working with ozone. We are dedicated to research and development of new ozone systems. Of course, we are now almost 100% dedicated to equipments where we can prevent COVID-19, because worldwide is now the most concerned topic all over, and because ozone is 100% natural and it's a high disinfectant. We can remove virus, bacteria, and fungi with ozone. So we just use oxygen to do it, and that's what we are doing. We are now developing systems, and I'm going to show a few of the systems that we are now putting on the market. We are already looking to sell all over. We are sending to US, to France. We already have a master distributor in France. In Portugal, we are finishing a contract for a master distributor in Spain. And now one of our goals is to get a master distributor in Ireland as well. Where we can use ozone and what are our main markets: industry, retailers, hotels, clinical, school, home. Basically, where we need disinfection or where we are using chemicals to do cleaning and disinfection. For instance, people normally don't know, when you go to a swimming pool, you dive into a swimming pool, you have chlorine that is quite dangerous. You can even get skin cancers and stomach cancers. And with ozone, we are only using oxygen, and it's 25 times more powerful than chlorine. As an example, one of the products that we are now with a huge success on the market, and here in Portugal, I know there are a few Portuguese around here in this presentation, so they may know Quinta da Pacheca. They won the most the wine hotel, the best wine hotel in the world this year, and they already have one of our disinfection tunnels. I'm going to show a presentation where we can see how does it work. So in this situation, what we have is a disinfection tunnel. It's 6 meters length, and we use ozone and water. Basically, we increase the ozone concentration in the water, increasing the redox concentration. And when we spray this water for the people or for the materials, even we can use in sauna, for example, they are using the products across the company. They pass through the tunnel and they do the disinfection. So if the COVID-19 is on the surface, we can inactivate COVID-19. In this case, we have the portable O3 generators. This is for the clients as restaurants, hotels, clinics. We have a specific one for the clinics, but instead of using one on the table, they can use this one as well. And normally we have to do this disinfection because it's gas during the night with no one inside the space, because we increase the oxidation of the air to a level that is not good for humans to breathe. So what we do is we have a timer where we control it. For example, between midnight and 1, it will do the disinfection. After 30 minutes, it's safe enough to go into the space. So as an example, some hotels, they are already using this, because even if they do the normal cleaning, normally under the chairs, under the tables, under the beds, inside the furniture, you normally don't get disinfected. with this because we are just using air and a high flow. We have equipments where we are working 180 cubic meters of airflow per minute to 3,100 cubic meters of air. This is pretty much the same equipment, but dedicated to clinics. So it's a standard equipment that will stay on a bench, quiet, instead of being portable. Now we are going into another area, the domestic equipments. So I don't want to spend much time talking about COVID-19 as at all as a virus and all the inconvenience. But now the word that we all need to be concerned is prevention. Now this equipment, as an example, we can connect it to the tap water in our sink in the kitchen. Drinking ozonated water will increase our immune system. So we will be with a better immune system. If we have to get COVID-19, we will get it for sure. This is not the solution. This is more to get our immune system more efficient to fight COVID-19. Now, the other thing is we can wash our hands with this, as instead of using alcohol gel, ozone is enabled to inactivate it. So we can wash our hands at home with this. We can watch our food with this, and we can drink, and normal, we should drink ozonated water. All the diabetics, one of the problems they have, normal, forget now about COVID-19, let's go back before this year. The diabetics, one of the problems they have is they don't have enough oxygen in the hands and on these legs. So drinking ozonated water, because it's an O3 atom that we are giving one more atom of oxygen to the red blood cells. So we are taking more oxygen. So it will reduce the risk of being amputated of his members. So this is an example of some of our products that we now have from the market. And we are now our main goal, and that's what we are looking is to get master distributors across Europe. And Ireland is one of our main goals. So that's what we are looking at the moment, is to get new distributors.
Thank you, Bruno.
Bruno, thank you very much. Just a very quick question on the distributors. Do they need to be specialist medical or other supplier equipment, or does it matter to you?
Well, they don't need to be specialists on medical products, because yes, we have some medical products. I did present these medical products here. They need to have a sales team or a sales structure. And they need to have training, a proper training, or in Ireland or even in Portugal, in our facilities, where they can go to our lab, because we have our lab to do the research. We manufacture the products here. So it's more about to have a structure to get the sales team. The master distributor, it's going to be only one per country, and then they will make the distribution across the country. So it's someone that needs to be willing to get some people to get trained, and across the country where they get the contract to get several distributors across it.
Great, thank you, Bruno. Anybody else got any questions? But I do want to move on quickly. So maybe what we'll do is wait till the end, actually, Bruno, so that we can get everybody's presentation in before 5 o'clock. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so next is Sonia Morera. She's the CRM manager of Quinta do Lago, but she's representing the Magnolia Hotel, and she's going to be talking about the new partnership with Microsoft and how it transformed the communications with their members, but also with their collection of brands, yeah, including the Magnolia. So over to you, Sonia.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. Yes, I'm CRM manager at Quinta do Lago. We kicked off the CRM project because we are a resort with several services, and we wanted to know more about our guests at every stage of the resort. If they are staying at the Magnolia, we would like to know his most detailed tastes, preferences, so we could adapt our communication to their specific needs, be more proactive in communicating with them and giving them a unique experience. With that, in the late 2017, in the end of the year, we started implementing across the resort. We kicked off in the Magnolia in 2018, early in the year. And with that, we started to adapt our business model to proactively communicate, segmented our clients by their preferences and understanding what they were looking for. During the pandemic, the CRM was quite vital for us because we could actively communicate at every stage, keep a strong communication that we were here, that what we were setting the resort for, setting the hotel, what were the measures that we were taking on the hotel to allow them to travel safely and stay with us. And also with that, because CRM gathers all our communication channels, we create certain types of offers that we could then increase with the engagement. We could check the engagement from the clients and understand what they were looking for. And it was quite interesting to see that reaction to what we were doing. And CRM is becoming increasingly a core for us, because on top of that, every new development that we are making, we are integrating the CRM. With the pandemic, we also start looking into ways of being more accessible to our guests. So the websites became fundamental for that. Through the web forms, we could capture their interests, communicate actively, and have an increased engagement with them through this tough period. Also, during the pandemic, we understood the need to create a multi-level app that could allow our guests, even away, to know what was going on in the resort, to start planning their next trip to us, see the services that we were offering, be able to book independently of if we would be available working through home or in the office. So we wanted to keep active on that. We partner with Microsoft through a company in Lessa da Palmeira, my partner, that assists us in building our CRM to our most detailed needs. And our detailed needs go to the fact that we want to know everything that our guests want. What is that they are looking for that Quinta and the Magnolia provide to them on their travel experience. And it's quite easy knowing that we can then customize to the biggest detail. If there's someone staying at Magnolia, we can proactively advise and suggest restaurants, activities to take on the resort, along with suggestion throughout the Algarve. So we want to offer an immersive experience, both in the resort, in the hotel, as well as in the Algarve. We want our guests to live with a sense of belonging, of the community in the Magnolia and in Quinta. In those lines, we also start kicking off a loyalty program. And the loyalty program will be something that we'll be launching next year. And its focus exactly on that, creating a community, having Quinta and the Magnolia ambassadors that can consume the entire experience in Quinta. something that is not available to every guest, but to them in specific. And the loyalty program comes with that in that aspect. And for us, it's quite important because everything is linked with these components. CRM being the center of it, allowing us to automatize processes. So we also won with that. We automatized several processes on our operation, but mainly of those are also always regarding to communication, towards engagement, be able to communicate actively and strongly with the needs and preferences of our guests. I do have a brief video to show you that showcases a bit of that. So you'll be able to understand the genesis of the project and the course so far that we've been taking to provide to our guests a full experience. Okay. I hope you can see it.
Yeah, perfect. I don't think, Sonia, we can hear the sound.
Okay, just a moment then. Here we go.
We have the translation in English. So that's
yes, they do. Yeah, it's Portuguese, but we have the subtitles in English.
É no Sotavento Algarvio que encontramos a Ria Formosa, considerada um santuário nacional da vida selvagem e que tem nas suas margens um dos mais desejados resorts da Europa. Famoso pelos campos de golfe, o grupo Quinta do Lago oferece hoje aos seus clientes um vasto número de serviços, o que inevitavelmente, ao longo do tempo, veio trazer novos desafios à gestão do grupo. Era preciso centralizar a informação dispersa nas várias unidades de negócio. A MyPartner foi a parceira escolhida para intervir e a responsável pela implementação do CRM Microsoft Dynamics 365 em algumas empresas do grupo.
Na prática, o que fizemos foi aproveitar o facto de os pedidos já estarem a cair dentro do Dynamics e tentar construir e adaptar a plataforma para que cada uma das equipas, apesar de as suas realidades serem diferentes, pudessem dar o devido seguimento dentro do Dynamics 365. Até à data da implementação eles estavam a receber pedidos de leads que não estavam a ser desenvolvidas. Depois da implementação passaram a ser registadas no CRM todas as oportunidades de negócio, quer sejam de vendas de propriedades, quer sejam de arrendamentos, quer sejam de pedidos de concierge de apoio ao arrendamento, quer seja pedidos de transfer para as reservas do golfe. Tudo isso são oportunidades no CRM e atividades registadas em torno da ficha do cliente.
Esta ficha de cliente veio não só organizar a informação e agilizar os processos, mas também abrir horizontes para novas oportunidades de negócio verdadeiramente integradas.
Todas as pessoas que trabalham no CRM têm o conhecimento do que é que o cliente faz, qual é o seu perfil, qual é as suas necessidades e os seus gostos, e assim dessa forma nós conseguimos perceber que um cliente tenha comprado uma casa, gosta de jogar golfe, nós até podemos promover essa mesma prática, podemos fazer algumas ações específicas para aquele cliente. É um melhor serviço, é uma melhor comunicação e trará muito mais retorno.
Melhor serviço e melhor comunicação são os dois principais benefícios retirados desta implementação, que só foi possível devido ao bom entendimento entre as equipas da MyPartner e do Grupo Quinta do Lago.
A escolha da MyPartner foi uma escolha muito natural, eu vou lhe dizer, exatamente pelos vossos conhecimentos dentro da plataforma Dynamics. E há aqui um fator muito importante que é a tecnologia, porque uma das limitações que poderia ser colocada à partida seria a distância. Nós estamos no Algarve, vocês estão sediados no Porto, não é? E é engraçado que até através desta plataforma, no caso o CRM, conseguimos desenvolver o projeto, conseguimos muito bem coordenar as comunicações, muita comunicação através de videoconferência, que foi engraçado no desenvolvimento do projeto, porque poderia ser aqui uma barreira que foi totalmente ultrapassada.
Com 645 hectares de dimensão, 640 trabalhadores e responsável por 26 marcas, o Grupo Quinta do Lago representa por si só um exemplo de sucesso, mas bem sucedida. Foi também esta parceria com a MyPartner, só possível graças à boa comunicação e coordenação entre as equipas, que ultrapassou todos os desafios e que certamente terá desenvolvimentos no futuro.
Great, thank you. Very interesting.
So that was it.
A huge scale of a project, I have to say, to roll it out across 26 locations. And how far have you got with that?
We pretty much integrated every business unit at this moment. So we will be having a fourth sprint, of course, because the CRM is something that is very dynamic to the business needs. And we were always looking to improve its and scale it according to our business needs. So I'm not thinking that we're going to stop in the short period. That's quite exciting. Also, along with the projects that we have that will always combine with CRM. So it's always going to be something that is going to be ongoing and growing.
Great, thanks. Well, look, we'll ask you more questions later, Sonia, but I think we'll move on to our last guest now. Hang on.
Thank you.
Yeah, so our last guest is Brian from Plésona, and he's going to talk about new solutions and advice to support small and medium enterprise. Brian, it's over to you.
Sure thing. Can everybody see my screen? Good. Okay. Just do
Can you make it? Can you make it to the
Yeah. So you can see the full slide. Yeah.
Not at the moment.
Okay. Hold on. I need to share the right screen. There you go. Should be able to see it now. Yeah.
No, now we don't. Okay, just a minute. Yeah, perfect.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, I know you guys are running behind time, so 10 minutes and I'll be done. Yeah. Right. A little bit of background about me. You'll see my main business, and many of you know me already from my Informative business, which is a working capital and procurement consultancy focused largely on major international multinationals. Yeah. So big businesses. Yeah. And I continue to do that. But of course, 2020 has been a strange year. Yeah. So not many people have gotten away scot-free with no consequences whatsoever. For me, I've probably lost about three bits of business over the course of the year through circumstances to do with COVID, but it's not the end of the world. But what it has meant is that you then have time on your hands to go and think of, okay, what else could I do? And I live down here in the Algarve, so there's not many major multinationals down here. So really my thinking was, okay, what's something I could do kind of more locally, yeah, not just in Portugal, but also in Ireland as well, focusing on smaller businesses. Because one similarity between Portugal and Ireland is that there's a handful of very large companies and then loads and loads of small ones, yeah. And when you look at kind of business advice market, you know, the big consultancies are obviously focused on the very big guys, and they charge a fortune and so on. So, you know, that's their business. But for many small businesses, when they try to get advice, you know, the usual place to go is either probably to your tax accountant very often, yeah, which is fine in terms of tax advice. That's what they're qualified to do, and do your accounts and make sure you're completely compliant with all that. But on many other subjects, they're not really, you know, very helpful at all. For instance, marketing, yeah, as an example, but other subjects too. So over the years, I've had a lot of experience with working with lots of businesses all across the world in many different industries and so on. So basically the idea is to take all of that experience and how can that then be shared with smaller businesses. So that's the basic theme of it. And the other key about this is that it tries to work on what I call a fixed price strategy, because very often when you go to your accountant or your lawyer or people like that, they tend to charge by the day or by the hour. And if you're a small business, particularly if you don't have a huge amount of money, that will make you very nervous because you have no idea oftentimes about how much is all this going to cost me when I start. And by the time you're halfway through it, it might, or it may not, but it might end up far more expensive than you budgeted for. So there's a fixed price regime in this, depending on the size of the business. And then the idea is we can, I mean, just some example businesses that we've already worked with, 2 different fintech startups, one in Ireland, one in Belgium. Yeah. A guy up in Donegal who's starting a business making timber framed houses, yeah, which is very environmentally friendly, by the way, and he's trying to start that up. There was another lady who was trying to start a children's nursery down in Cork, and another guy in Dublin who actually had a security shredding business, yeah, who wanted to get into recycling cardboard, yeah, which is actually, prices of cardboard these days are quite good, so that's why he wanted to get into that. The commonality between all these different people, in terms of what they do, they know and have a passion for. But then the problem is then when they get outside of that, there's many things that they don't know. Yeah, simple things like, you know, how do I get a grant? How do I get a bank loan? How do I put a business plan together? But they're just examples, and here's kind of a range of different things that I can do for people. Yeah. So sometimes, you know, it was interesting listening to John earlier. Yeah, because I'm sure, you know, when, you know, if you do a startup and you're trying to get investment, you must have a proper business plan, not just financial plan, marketing plan, etc. You know, so you're, whether you like it or not, you're forced into that kind of regime. But there's lots of other things like, you know, there was a discussion about, you know, how should things be priced? Yeah, because when you start, especially in a service business, that can be very, very open-ended, and you know, it's difficult if you're not really familiar to understand, you know, kind of what can be a fair price versus something that's exorbitant, or the potential that you're actually undercharging, which means, you know, you're actually doing yourself out of business. They're just you know, all examples of a broad range of different things. Obviously, you know, I can help with cash flow and procurement because that's what I've been also doing for 25 years. So it's rolling all this stuff into one. And me personally, why I have all these experiences is because, you know, in my previous life, not just working as a consultant, but, you know, I've had senior management roles in marketing and sales, product development, all sorts of different things which kind of pile into this. Yeah. So that's kind of the range of things that I can do. But I think I just wanted to spend one slide just on, you know, what's going on this year and what are kind of common themes for not all small businesses, but many of them. The very first one, I'm sure we all ask ourselves this question every time we turn on the news every day. It's just, how long is this thing going to go on for? Yeah. And whenever we thought it was just about to end, it seems to add another, you know, 3 or 6 months to whatever that range is. And, you know, from what people are telling me now, we're probably going to be in some kind of socially distant situation like this, probably up to another year, maybe not completely, but and that's assuming vaccines come along. So let's all hope that happens. But that does have an impact. You know, it has an impact for us all, because like today, we were going to do all this face to face. We're not doing it face to face. Yeah, that impacts everybody involved, and I think most people would agree that these kind of things work better in a face to face format. But you know, we can only do what we can. But that affects. It also affects how you sell to people, because it's very difficult to sell services in particular to people who you've never met, and this kind of medium, you can, but it's different. Yeah. The second thing is about business survival. Now, probably back in March, a lot of people were thinking, well, maybe I get to the end of the year and I'm okay. Yeah. Particularly if you look at the tourist business here locally, you know, they were hoping that they'd have some kind of a summer. Yeah. And in the end, they did. Yeah. Maybe not the best summer they've ever had. Yeah. But you know, taking away all the foreign tourists, for Portuguese tourists coming down here, they come down here in their droves, as they usually do. Yeah. But it's different for lots of people. So for instance, if you're kind of in the facilities maintenance business, you're probably doing reasonably okay because things still need to be maintained. But many people in, say, the hotel business, up to about July time, it's pretty rough. Yeah. Thankfully better now, but a short season. And then, are we going to get through all the way to the end of next year, depending on, does this get better, worse, whatever. Another issue that's coming up is around working capital loans. Now, this is different in different countries, but lots of the politicians are patting themselves on the back because they've put out all these grants and loans and things like this. And what you find in many countries is the take-up of small businesses for these things is remarkably low. There's some exceptions. And the reason is because most small businesses don't like borrowing money. Yeah. And that's nothing to do with COVID. Yeah. And especially borrowing money to cover day-to-day cash flows for many people just doesn't make sense, because they're going to have to pay it back at some point, which means they actually have to make more money later in order to pay that back now. So that's become an issue for people. And also there's lots of small businesses who've never borrowed money at all. So they actually don't know how. How do you apply? What's the criteria? In terms of a business plan that has to go with it. How do I do that? The next bit after that is okay, well, if you do think you're in trouble or going to be in trouble, do you cut now or gamble and wait? Now, that's very important in small businesses because especially where you have a small number of employees, you've got your entire skill set with a very small number of people. So if you have to end up letting people go, that's a very serious thing in terms of your skill base, because at some later point, if you then want to, it's unlikely you're going to be able to re-employ the same person 6 or 12 months away, maybe when things are better. You're going to have to bring some completely new and train them all up from scratch. And in many cases in small businesses, you have people who've worked for years in a particular position. So replacing that skill set can be a difficult thing. And it's a real gamble at the moment as to, do I keep my people or do I let people go, which is never a nice thing to do. Next point, and I'm actually kind of in the middle of this, is the whole innovation thing. Yeah, it's the Einstein rule that if you're doing the same thing and it's not working for you, and you keep doing it and you expect a different outcome, that's just insane. You have to do something different. Yeah. Now you might do something different that doesn't work. Yeah, but you have to do something different, or else there's no chance that things can get better. Yeah. And the last one, probably not such a huge issue in Portugal at the moment, but it's a big issue in Ireland, is this enormous game of chicken that's going on between Brussels and London with the whole Brexit negotiation, or is there a negotiation or not negotiation? That for lots of businesses who deal in goods, yeah, is going to have a massive impact, particularly in Ireland, but it'll also have some impact down here, particularly with imports of food or exports of food, yeah, depending on exactly what ends up. But really, I don't think anyone really knows what's going to happen. So there's a lot of things in the mix at the moment, creating uncertainty where, lots and lots of people need help, they need advice, yeah. And and our mission is to be able to do that, for small businesses in a way that's tailored to what they need. And after that, I'll shut up, yeah, and help keep the time going, yeah. And I think, Arnold, you've got a copy of this presentation, yes?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I will be sharing everybody's presentation afterwards.
I would say feel free to distribute that, but also I'd say, Aoife, you were asking earlier, what's it that the IBPN can do for me, yeah? And the very simple thing is, you might look at this and say, well, actually, I don't need this help. Yeah, that's fair enough. But you might know lots of other people who might need that help. So feel free to take that presentation and send it to anybody who you think might be relevant. Yeah, because going back to, again, what John was saying right at the very start of this session, that's the whole point of this kind of network, that, we know our immediate network, but it's the friends of friends of friends, yeah, and how we kind of distribute, what we do and what our capabilities are beyond that. Okay, I'm done.
Great, thanks, Brian. I found, as always, your presentations are really interesting, Brian, because I do some of what you do in a different format.
Yeah.
But I love your very, very practical approach to these things. When you were doing the innovation for your own business, did you find it more difficult to do it for yourself than you did do when you look at someone else's and you have that third-party perspective?
For me personally, no. Yeah. But I'm one of the lucky people like this, because I've been doing this kind of innovation, whether it's branding, product stuff. I've been doing this for, you know, at least 15 years in different forms. So I have a good idea of what works and what doesn't work, and you know, I mean, you'll know yourself, Effie, you learn by your mistakes over the years. So you know, you kind of hone your skills that way. But I think what is relevant in this space is that there's an awful lot of people out there who would have a problem, who need a team of people sometimes just to bounce ideas off and say, listen, am I completely crazy with this one, and so on. And that's kind of fairly normal. But the other, you know, word you mentioned was you know, practical. Yeah. There's lots of advice that can be given, and it feels like it's just pulled out of the sky, hairy fairy stuff, which is all it's clever, but it's not very applicable. So one of the things I've always tried to do throughout my career is things that actually work. Yeah. And they work because in most cases I've done something like that, so I have an idea what works and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Could you stop sharing your screen now so that we can
Sure.
get it on the, and Arnold, you might switch to grid view so we can all see each other and chat, please.
Right.
I found those presentations really interesting, as always. It is fantastic to hear what members are doing and how they are thinking at any moment in time and what their current experiences are. And the innovation thing is really, really important. I mean, a lot is mentioned about innovation, but I think sometimes people actually miss the point of innovation. Sometimes it's not actually, innovation is not about revolution, it's about evolution. And it's about making what you're doing either better, more efficient, more streamlined, or more profitable, or whatever it takes. But you know, I think we could get hung up on innovation as being something that is revolutionary, and I think it's not. I think the best innovations are always the tiny little things, the tiny little details that make things and transform them. So for example, Sonia's CRM is actually transforming their business. It sounds like a very simple thing to do, to implement a thing that says, what does my customer want at any given moment? But that innovation in the business hasn't actually changed the fundamental operation of the business in many respects, but in many respects it has, because it's changed the mindset and focused it totally on the customer. And Sonia, have you found any feedback from your customers on whether they are noticing the improvement on customer focus as a result?
We can measure the engagement with the communication, so we know they're actually being more well received. So we have those indicators, and we do have people coming back to us if we send a newsletter communication, which happened throughout this lockdown, this quarantine in Portugal, giving support words to us as well as a business to keep here, that they looked forward to visit Quinta. So these types of things make us understand that we are doing a good work, and we are on the right path to create this engagement and this community that is so important for us. Because at the end of the day, our experience is hospitality. We want a guest to feel that it's not just a guest, it matters to us. So we are measuring that.
Mm-hmm. And Bruno, on the other hand, you do actually do R&D, and you actually do innovate from scratch. And how have you found innovating in the face of the global pandemic? What you were doing obviously had major application, but now you've got a major different application in terms of the scale of the rollout that you need to do if you have the hopefully the success that you want with your distributors. How are you tying the two in together, the innovation with the practical reality of delivering on the ground?
So basically the biggest problem was that normally when we do research and development, we take our time without any rushes, and okay, if we take 6 months or 1 year to develop a product, It's not a problem. It's just a new product that we are developing for the market. Now, when you have the pressures and you see the numbers increasing across the globe with new cases, and you see that you can use something that there is not a huge amount of technicians and researchers that they are capable to work with that and develop products to inactivate COVID-19, prove, test it, and do it the best you can do. It's quite difficult because, as an example, instead of taking, let's say, 50,000 euros to develop a product, you take 3 or 4 times more because you need to buy new products, new things, what you have on the market, and you need to get the solutions to develop the products. On the video where the first with the tunnel, the disinfection tunnel, if you saw the video, the first tunnel you saw, it was something white, quite weird. It was our prototype. And I'm quite happy with that because I just went to a store beside our factory and I buy some metallic tubes, I get some PVC boards, and I just mount a structure. And I start developing the tunnel from that. And instead of, no, let's design and develop, imagine and do the prototyping on the PC, no, it was real life. Buy material and start working on it, and then go to the lab and try to get the results that we were looking. So it's more difficult, more challenging in the end, now that we already have a huge variety of products for the COVID-19. Very happy with the success and the reality that we now can work with.
Great. Well, a really interesting story to hear that you had to go to the hardware store to get started on this one. Does anybody else want to join in the conversation and have questions for Bruno, Sonia, or Brian?
Yeah, I'd just like to say to Bruno, there must be loads of applications for his system in the particularly high-risk areas in food production.
Yeah.
Have you been looking much at that?
So for the last times, we are looking for hospitals, hotels, and restaurants. It's our main concern because every place where you get a huge amount of people together, it's a place where we will get the dangers of getting more cases. So industry, as the food industry, there is a huge amount of things. I was doing for a client of ours, they produce grapes and they were looking to get the disinfection system without chemicals. And we did the tests, it was very good. For example, we increase the period until the grapes start getting a dark color, and we increased the period for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
just because we were using ozone. I don't know, in most of the people in Portugal, they don't know salicornia. It's something, it's like a vegetable where we can replace salt in the food. Now the biggest chefs in the kitchen, they are using salicornia. And we did a test as well with salicornia, and we increased the level of salicornia in 17% per week because we were using ozone.
Wow.
Yeah, so there are huge, ozone is not only for COVID-19. Well, there are some guys now, they found out that ozone is good for COVID-19 and they are trying to get into the business. But no, I work with ozone for 18 years. Ozone, there is a huge, and I used to work with ozone normally, my clients is industry, water industry, food industry. But now for the last months, because of all this situation, yeah, we are working something like 90% for COVID-19, but we are still developing systems. Now we have in production a machine. There is a new company in Portugal. They are going to produce acrylic masks, the whole mask, and they want to do the disinfection with ozone. So we design a system for them to have a special chamber where they will do all the disinfection with ozone.
Yeah, no, it just struck me that in, for example, 40-foot containers for transporting fruit, vegetables, meat, you've got a ready-made container there. And for guys taking their fruit from the south of Spain or from Portugal, back to Northern Europe, it could be done en route in the container. You don't need to build a tunnel to do it, you know?
Yeah, inside the container, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a case to adapt the system to the container.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Great. Has anybody else got any questions?
I was interested in what Brian had to say about timber framed houses from Donegal. The reason I was interested is an architect friend of mine in the UK is working on a very similar project, but he's, because of costs there and material costs as well, it's not looking that interesting. But he might be interested in talking to the guys in Donegal to see if they could collaborate in some way, because he's looking at sort of prefabricating cabins and having them placed in various tourist spots around the east of England.
Yeah, the guy I'm talking to, he's talking about building timber framed houses, but he is actually, his trade, he's actually a master carpenter. That's his background.
Right.
And his idea is, particularly in Ireland with housing crisis and particularly lots of young people who can't afford to buy a house, that you can build these units far cheaper on a small piece of land and so on, and to very high safety standards. But yeah, it'd be very interesting to connect these folks and see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got your email address there anyway, and I'll send you an email and we can get in touch with you. Or
absolutely. Yeah.
Arnold can possibly put us in contact anyway. But yeah, it just might be interesting. I think.
Yeah, no, listen, all ideas are good, Joe.
Yeah, sure. Well, maybe not all. I'm slightly critical of a few that Mr. Trump has come up with recently.
Well, we'll leave politics out of the business network.
That's very good.
Does anybody else have any questions for any of our presenters today?
No, that's it for me, Emily.
No? Okay. Well, I think with that, that was a really interesting presentation, guys. As with all events with the network, if you think that there is an opportunity that someone in our network or that you would benefit from, please reach out to Arnold and get their contact details. We can all work together to help each other out, particularly as these moments are so trying for very, very many of us. I do thank you all for your time and your presence, to the presenters especially, thank you. And I also look forward to seeing you. Our next event is going to be an interview I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to have a conversation with the Dean of Nova University, Daniel Trasa, and we're going to be talking about the strategy for Ireland's success as viewed from Portugal and what Portugal is doing at the moment, and hopefully the opportunities for collaboration and growth into the future as our economies become more entwined, particularly in the wake of the aforementioned Brexit. Thank you all for your attendance today, and I hope to see you on the 13th of October for our next event.
Thanks, Aoife.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, all.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.